everyone. I'm Dana Perino along with Kimberly Guilfoyle, Juan Williams, Jesse Waters, and Greg Gutfeld. It's 5 o'clock in New York City, and this is The Five. Well, there's been talk about it all week. Now the full GOP memo alleging bias in the investigation of the Trump campaign is out, and there is a lot to unpack. So let's bring in Chief Intelligence Correspondent Catherine Herridge to break it down for us. Catherine.
Well, thanks, Dana. This newly declassified 4-page memo, first reported by Fox News, makes the case that the secret National Security Court was kept in the dark by the FBI and Justice Department when they sought and secured a surveillance warrant for Trump campaign aide Carter Page. The memo says the court was never told the former British spy, who was paid by Democrats to put together the Trump dossier, that's Christopher Steele, had a personal animus towards the presidential nominee. Quote, in September 2016, Christopher Steele admitted to Justice Department official Bruce Ohr his feelings against then-candidate Trump when Steele said he, quote, was desperate that Donald Trump not get elected and was passionate about him not being president. Ohr was recently demoted over his contacts with Steele, and Glenn Simpson, whose opposition research firm Fusion GPS directed the Trump project. Bank records obtained by the same House committee show Ohr's wife Nellie worked for Fusion GPS and began investigating Trump as early as May 2016. Republican investigators said the court was also never told about the dossier's political roots. Quote, neither the initial FISA application in October 2016 nor any of the renewals disclose or reference the role of the DNC, Clinton campaign, or any party campaign in funding Steele's efforts, even though the political origins of the Steele dossier were then known to senior DOJ and FBI officials. According to the memo, Deputy FBI Director Andrew McCabe, who was removed earlier this week, testified before the committee in December of last year that they would never have gone for a surveillance warrant if it had not been for the dossier. Dana.
Hey, Catherine, I have one question. So Speaker Ryan and the White House both said today that they had encouraged the Democrats to try to release their version of the memo. Do you have any idea what the timing of that might be?
Well, they've got to go through a number of processes in terms of classification. I think one of the big distinctions with the Republican staff memo is that it was deliberately drafted with the idea that it could be made public quickly. So they eliminated a lot of national security information, sources, methods, anything that was sensitive. The Democrats' version is 10 pages long, but it would also be subject to an interagency review. So it could take some days.
All right. Thank you, Catherine. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
President Trump shared his thoughts on the memo from the Oval Office today, moments before it was released.
I think it's terrible. You want to know the truth? I think it's a disgrace. What's going on in this country, I think it's a disgrace. What's going on, a lot of people should be ashamed of themselves, and much worse than that. Let's see what happens. But a lot of people should be ashamed. Thank you very much.
All right, we'll take it around the table, starting with Kimberly, who knows a lot about the FBI process and getting a FISA warrant and all that goes into it. Your thoughts?
Yeah, there was a few things that jumped out to me right away that are sort of like the exclamation points. And what I thought was interesting is that they excluded the political origins on the Steele dossier that were known to senior DOJ and FBI officials, but they were left out and excluded from the FISA applications. And I feel that that in and of itself is sort of glaring because it shows like so the motive, the intention, an intent to deceive, some duplicity on their part, which I think is totally inappropriate in terms of what they were supposed to be transparent about and put forward and proffer in terms of supporting documentation and what they knew. And if they knew about the political origins of it, that in and of itself should have cast doubt on the credibility. They purposefully withheld that information. So to me, that is a significant glaring factor. And probably it's like #1 on my list, just about.
Juan, another part of it was that that the media helps play a role in this in a way. So apparently Steele leaked information about the dossier to Yahoo News. Yahoo News writes the article, and then apparently the FBI, when applying for the warrant, says that there was corroboration because it was in Yahoo News, but they didn't make it explicit that they had actually used their own, Steele used his own information to get it into the Yahoo News. What do you think of that?
Well, I don't think much of it. I mean, to me, it doesn't matter. Clearly, the FBI cut off contact with Steele once they suspected that he was leaking information. But this thing is so comical to me. I said to Greg in the green room, Greg, you're a seer because this is zero. This is comical. I was thinking there's going to be something here, some element here that's really going to cause people to take a second look. Instead, you have a situation where Kimberly is talking about Steele having some political dislike for President Trump. That doesn't speak to the information in the memo. And secondly, guess what? It didn't even prompt the investigation. The investigation had started before with the news that the FBI had uncovered of George Papadopoulos' connection with Russian agents who were trying to win him over.
And that is included in the memo.
Yeah, and so I don't understand. And then secondly, don't forget that Carter Page had been under FBI scrutiny since 2013, Dana. So again, this is not even pertinent. I mean, I don't get it. This, you know, I'm struck by the number of Republicans who have said today, I'm thinking of John McCain, who said basically that Nunes and the Republicans here are doing Putin's work. John Kasich said it was an attack on American institutions and erodes our democracy. John Thune said we got to get past this. This is not good. I don't get it. And so President Trump says they're ashamed. He should be ashamed of using Nunes and the Congress in this way.
Well, Jesse, I'm assuming you think differently. Juan says he thinks it's comical, but you're not laughing.
I'm laughing at Juan's thesis. It's a kill shot. Juan knows it, so he's
It's a kill shot.
It's an absolute
kill shot. Wow.
And the reason Juan can't admit it is because to admit it, he would have to admit that he's been wrong for a year on the whole hoax.
I get it.
They were caught red-handed in a conspiracy that the left accused the Republicans of being involved in. It involved the media. It involved Hillary operatives in foreign countries. It involved the Department of Justice and the FBI under Barack Obama. You say the FBI cut off contact with Steele after they caught him leaking. Then he backdoored through the Justice Department. And the person whose wife was working for Fusion GPS ended up being demoted, Bruce Orr. You say this didn't prompt the investigation. You know what did prompt the investigation?
Tell me.
Strzok. The Trump-hating, corrupt FBI official. So what's worse? You're also saying...
Excuse me, wait a second.
Yeah.
Strzok responded when Papadopoulos was found to being recruited by the Russians. And then he was subsequently taken off the investigation.
Okay, so he hates Trump. The fix was in. He cooked up the Hillary deal and then opens up an investigation on Papadopoulos off of some conversation over in London. That's not a big deal, Juan? To me, it is. You know what else is really interesting? No, listen, let me finish.
Someone like you is so desperate.
This is not desperation.
Oh, my God.
This is not desperation at all. Read the memo. I don't even think Juan's actually read the memo.
You guys, we got to get Greg in here.
Let's say, I want to say one thing that Kimberly said. Juan, if James Comey is signing off on 3 FISA application warrants, and he knows the application was based on a document, the dossier that was paid for by Hillary and was unverified and salacious, why would he do that?
Well, he's not. First of all, it wasn't based on. There's no indication this was the total basis for it. Everybody
Juan,
says.
they said if the dossier hadn't been there, they never would have gotten the application.
Again.
McCabe said it under oath.
No,
Juan.
Well, actually, did you not see the thing that Brett Baer sent earlier that said that the Democrats are disputing that McCabe didn't say those exact words? And so who knows? Maybe when their memo comes out, Greg will have more information on that.
Well, you know, the thing is, since this whole thing started, this nerd Super Bowl, I said that I didn't think there was there was going to be a big deal. So I don't have a dog in this hunt. I'm not interested in being proven correct that nothing happened here. But when somebody says there's nothing to see here, that means there's something to see here, because there's always something. And it's clear when you look at this that there is something. And when you step back and you see this mosaic of malfeasance, when you see things like the tarmac and you see things like the servers and the text messages and the Comey statement, and then you see the political roots of this dossier and why the political roots of the dossier were covered up. Well, who would do that? Why would they do that? It stinks of Clinton. This is all about Hillary Clinton. I mean, this is to help her get elected. We spent the last year and a half hearing about collusion between Donald Trump and the Russians. And all along, the real collusion was committed by the perpetrators of that narrative. So if you look at the media, the Democrats and their allies in government, those are the people that have been colluding. They've been colluding about a narrative, and they were colluding before the election. If you think that's not huge, then you're probably a hack.
I'm a hack then. I'm a big hack. Because I remember hearing people, Fox and in the conservative echo chamber say, bigger than Watergate.
I didn't say that.
It's going to make Watergate look like someone was stealing Snickers.
I didn't think it was going to be much of anything.
It is not. That's what it is.
But I'm admitting I'm wrong.
You know, today, at this table, you guys have not raised one thing that would say to this audience,
I do.
boy, this is terrible.
And I'll raise it right now. Hillary paid for the surveillance of Donald Trump's campaign.
So what? So if somebody breaks into your house,
They used false information to spy on Trump.
What
they
false
knew it was false.
information?
The dossier.
The
they
dossier
knew it was
is not false. Why do you say
the
that?
dossier was false
No,
because
it's not.
McCabe said it was false
No.
and Comey said it was false.
No.
But Comey said, quote, Ready? Salacious and unverified.
Yes.
Brief for the president.
So
He
it
said
lacks
salacious and unverified.
So in other words,
they
the
knew it was
FBI
paid for by Hillary,
So
and
Can I
they
ask Kimberly
still
something?
used it
What
to
difference
justify
does it
this.
make who pays
What
for it?
difference does it make? Okay, Mrs. Clinton.
What?
You just quoted the secretary from Benghazi.
I just said, what difference does it make who pays for it if the information
It's
is
political
substantial?
BS.
We're going to make a
don't
commercial.
know.
You don't take a
What
judge
if
BS.
the FBI gets information from a guy who's like some like not a, like a kind of a seedy character,
Oh,
Kimberly,
right.
but if it turns out to be
Every
good
day.
information, then you still
But we
go
know
with
it wasn't
but
good
you wanna-
information,
It was good
Dana,
information.
because
You
it's
have to
never been
verify it.
verified.
Look, I'm not saying
yeah.
that. I'm not saying the dossier is real. I'm just saying that that is what
Right.
Juan is saying.
Using the
point is
dossier
it's
to
an
get
issue
a
of
warrant is like
veracity.
trying to buy beer with a library card. Sorry.
Well, have you tried that?
Yes.
That's
Can I ask you one thing, Kimberly,
Kimberly,
about the process? Because I am curious about this, and we don't know this from the memo. So if Carter Page is under a FISA warrant starting in 2013, and you have to go to the FISA court every 90 days in order to keep up that warrant. Like, we don't know if there was a lapse in the warrant between 2013 and 2016. But we don't know if this was a new warrant about Carter Page, right?
Yeah, so the problem is there's a whole chronology issue here as well in terms of when did they get it? Is this new? At what time? And it also goes to the larger issue, as Jesse was saying, of veracity in terms of the integral, content and the facts that are alleged there. So if you have a question about that, you would have to verify it to make sure that it was substantiated and there was some kind of indicia of proof or evidence to support any of this.
Can I ask you
But
one other thing
it's
on this?
very origin
on this
is
legal point,
suspect.
Right.
which is because I want to give you one more chance to talk since these guys talked a lot. If you're a FISA judge and you were presented information that you think was based on faulty information, like how mad would you be, and what are the consequences of that?
Scale of 1 through 10, furious. Yeah, furious because somebody could be held in contempt of court, lying to the court, proffering false information or false affidavits. I mean, this goes to the integrity of the whole judicial process and saying that in good faith and belief that you have the information that you're relying on is truthful and should be relied on by an officer of the court in order to justify essentially a search or an intrusion.
And that's why I get back to
or
that
getting
idea that if
information.
I'm imagining if you are presenting to the judge, you don't say one of my pieces of evidence is an article from Yahoo News. I mean, because that's actually what they're saying was one of the pieces. I don't know all of the details here, and we'll find out if the Democrats are going to come out with their memo, and we'll have more of a full picture. But we're going to talk about this a little bit more. Memo fallout ahead, and a programming note. Devin Nunes is going to join Bret Baier exclusively tonight at 6 p.m. Eastern for a live interview on this document he commissioned. Don't miss that. Stay with us.
On the FISA memo firestorm, what kind of fallout will this have on the FBI and on the Department of Justice? Former FBI Director James Comey took to Twitter today to give his reaction. He writes, quote, "That's it? Dishonest and misleading memo wrecked the House Intel Committee, destroyed trust with intelligence community, damaged relationship with the FISA court, and inexcusably exposed classified investigation of an American citizen. For what? DOJ and FBI must keep doing their jobs." Jesse, how do you respond to Jim Comey?
Say that was too long.
This is way too 140.
This is why they extending the
verbose.
character.
Terrible.
It's terrible.
And he needs to take some lessons from Trump on being not as verbose.
Winning at Twitter?
Yeah, winning. I think Comey has, since he's been fired, looked worse and worse and worse. From the leaking of the memos to the ridiculous comments on Twitter to the book now. If you look at his Twitter page, it's all about the book release, so we know what he's trying to do there. I want to put a real fine point on what Kimberly said, because I do think she's right. It's the crux of the issue.
Genius.
When they applied for these warrants, they knew it was based on false pretenses that were paid for by Hillary Clinton, and they didn't disclose it to the judge. They purposely withheld that Clinton paid for the information, and they purposely withheld that Steele hated Trump and was connected to Fusion GPS. I also want to touch on something else. Remember, for a year, the Clinton campaign denied they had anything to do with the dossier until eventually it came out that they did. And again, they used fake news to get the warrant. You know, they shopped the stories around, and then they tipped the Newsweek or the Yahoo deal, and they gave it to the judge. So everything that the left has accused the Republicans of when it comes to collusion, when it comes to pushing fake news, they themselves are guilty of.
So, Kimberly, I just want to go back to the Comey memo for a second. He says it damaged the relationship between the intelligence community and the Congress. And the intelligence community obviously requires oversight. People appreciate transparency. But if you're in the congressional committees at this point, you're thinking to yourself, gee, I don't know if the intelligence community is going to share information with us anymore because people will use it for political attacks like this Nunes memo.
But you're also thinking perhaps we would like to make sure that we could rely on the authenticity, the veracity, the truthfulness of information that is being provided to us that we are reviewing, and that it isn't that we're not being used as pawns in some kind of political chess. And so that's a problem too, because they are staking their reputation, they're basing it on the information that they're provided, and if the information is suspect, lacks veracity, is false in terms of what they're proffering for, that is a huge problem.
Okay.
That's the bigger picture issue, besides, like, you know, what you're saying. That's sort of a collateral issue in terms of what's at the core here of the problem.
So, Dana, the question becomes whether or not it's trustworthy information, right? And does it matter if somebody if somebody likes Hillary Clinton, doesn't like, but is doing their job? Christopher Steele, much respected former British intelligence agent. And isn't it the case that there was additional material not disclosed in the Nunes memo? Obviously, the average FISA warrant's about 40 or 50 pages. Nunes memo, 4 pages. So there's much missing beyond whatever you think about the Michael Steele
Right. This wasn't.
dossier.
So, yes, of course, this is not the full story, and which is why I think the White House has sent Sarah Sanders out today to put out. I guess she just put out a statement. It was not on camera, in which she said the White House stands ready to help the Democrats with their interagency process to approve the release of their memo as long as it doesn't affect national security. So I think we do need to see that. Then the question actually becomes, should we see the underlying documents, the source documents, the FISA applications that went into October 2016? But if that's true, then should we also see the FISA applications from October of 2013? And I don't know if America really needs to see all of that. I think that the Justice Department needs to have the integrity of investigations, because if you start doing this, it'll be a slippery slope for other things. I do think that Comey is unnecessarily taunting people. And it's one thing to walk away, to write a book. You'll have your say when you have a chance to write your book. You will also have a chance probably to talk to Bob Mueller. You might be called up to Congress again. And I think taunting on Twitter on either side of this, especially if you are under investigation, is a really, really bad idea.
Are you talking about Trump or Comey?
Anybody. The other thing I would say is this. One of the things that happens in Washington in particular, or anywhere, is that you want to protect yourself. There's self-preservation here. These are people's careers and livelihoods. And I would not be surprised if you see additional news stories and leaks of some sort as a result of this.
Yes. Anyway, so Greg, I just wanted one serious question here. Lots of thought today.
I was getting used to your humorous ones.
Oh, okay. So lots of talk today in Washington. Is this then a precursor for Trump to fire Rod Rosenstein, the Deputy Attorney General who approved one of these FISA requests?
I'm not into hypothetical questions, and I think that might have been hypothetical.
Yeah.
But I would like to focus more on Comey's tweet, the fact that his criticism was over the release of the information, not the information itself, and I think that's interesting. Comey claims he was mad that it exposed classified information. I think he was more upset that it exposed the mistakes that he made in depending on that dossier and using it. And again, you see people fretting about transparency who didn't seem to mind when President Obama ended Chelsea Manning's prison sentence. I think that's interesting. This is the most transparent government I've ever seen. I'm learning so much. Aren't you? Aren't we all learning a lot?
I don't know. I feel like there's some holes here. I'd like to learn a little more.
I think this is way better than 4 years of political science at any college. Donald Trump presidency, you learn more in a year than you would at
Harvard.
Harvard.
I was saying about economics.
Yeah.
Like it's like the national economics lesson.
Well, I think I've learned that he doesn't like this investigation and he wants it to stop.
But he loves you, Juan.
He does? Good.
Yes.
A new crackdown on comfort animals on the seat next to you on a plane after a, get this, peacock fiasco. That's next with Kimberly.
Not guess what. Traveling by air can give a lot of people anxiety. Greg.
Yes.
Some people bring animals on board with them to provide comfort when they fly, but policies are a-changin' on some big airlines. United bounced a passenger recently who showed up at the airport with a peacock for emotional support. At least it wasn't a llama, right? Now the airline is tightening rules to make passengers confirm their animals are trained to behave in public and have vaccinations from a veterinarian. Now Delta just tightened its policies on comfort pets, and American is considering doing so as well. Now, I never particularly thought, Greg, that a peacock would be comforting, but there are those that do. Is there anything that would help you when you travel to relax?
Can we get it for
Any
you?
animal.
My comfort animal is wild turkey.
Ooh. I'll have a double.
liquid.
Okay, here's the lesson, and we know this lesson. Every time a new system is invented, there will be an accompanying effort to game it. So when you get cable, someone will try to steal your cable. When you create a currency, there will be counterfeit currencies. So this always happens. When something good happens, there are other people that will take advantage of it. Unfortunately, people who are gaming the system, who are bringing these animals on just to bring them on so they don't have to pay for shipping them or whatever, they're actually hurting the real patients, like veterans with PTSD, because it makes, when somebody games the system, it makes you suspicious of everybody else. For example, if somebody's abusing drugs recreationally, then the patients who want to get that drug are also under scrutiny by the doctors. If you happen to actually need opioids, people are going to think you're abusing opioids because it is such a big deal. So this is what happens. And now when you see people with a pet, you're going, nah, I don't believe it.
Right.
Peacock, please.
Yeah, like, what's your problem?
Yes, yeah. But there are people with real problems.
Real problems.
Yes,
Greg.
yes.
Not like pretend little problems. Okay, so Dana.
That's mean.
Aw, I think you're doing better, actually.
Oh, good.
As long as you get there like 3 hours ahead of time, your anxiety
I
is
had
reduced.
experience with this on a plane where a woman brought a parrot, her parrot, with her on the plane, and she was sitting in the row ahead of me, and it was like a 3-hour flight, and she talked baby talk to this bird the entire flight, and it was super annoying. This is before Wi-Fi and stuff, so you could, distract yourself.
Right. So, okay,
What's it, a baby bird?
a follow-up question. So, would you ever consider making Jasper a comfort?
Well, I would, except for Jasper is so famous, and I would be that person who ruins it for everybody else.
America's
right? I would be.
comfort dog.
I don't need an emotional support dog when I go on a
But
plane.
you've looked into it.
I did not look into it because I would end up on the front. I would end up disgraced. And
That's true.
My
What about
dog is
Peter?
too famous to be a therapy pet.
it would be.
That is the
That's
greatest.
true.
America's comfort dog. Keep up with the theme here.
My dog is too famous.
Jesse,
I don't know what to do.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. Good voiceover. Hey Jesse, did you find in your experience with the llamas, was that comforting to you?
No, that was terrifying. And we had a person with an emotional support squirrel on Water's World, except the squirrel fell asleep and he didn't want to wake it up, so that bombed. We tried to book the woman with the bird and she denied me, so I'm a little angry at her. I just want to talk about the memo, actually. In the initial FISA application, they didn't
Kill
say...
shot.
No, seriously, can we get back to the memo, people?
I was much more interested in Bullwinkle flying with Rocket J. Squirrel when you were there. I was fascinated by that. I don't get this, but it seems to me an era of indulgence. I think Greg often talks about people have nothing better to do, so we live in this very highly entitled, happy, comfortable society, and we make a big deal out of this. Now, I'll tell you from my experience what's interesting is this is protected under the Fair Housing Act. Who knew?
Wow.
Why would that be? I don't know.
That's worthy of a guess what, and you didn't even use it.
I did. I should have used it. I should have used it. But
One to bank, but one in the bank.
yeah, that they want to protect
Appropriate
people
usage.
who actually need assistance
True.
animals, for
But
people
how
who
do you-
What is America?
The blind people or people with PTSD, there are people that need
But
this.
how do you come
Americans
up with
for
a
Disabilities.
peacock, though? Like, what? I love a peacock. They're great.
Not on
They're
a
beautiful,
plane.
majestic birds. But what makes you think
They're
that's
show-offs.
an emotional? How do you cuddle up with a
Peacocks
peacock?
they're a show off. They're bird.
Well, the bird is.
The whole thing is about status. It carries that around to tell its mates that it is so powerful that it can carry this burden of feathers. So you should have sex with me. That's what a peacock is.
Okay,
Ron wants a peacock.
we wanted.
No, that's the whole point of the feathers. It's to say it's like if you carried a piano around.
Oh my God.
If you carried a piano around,
we don't have time.
women would go, "Oh wow, he's so strong." That's the whole point of the.
Oh, I
It's
thought
like
they
when
would
guys
say,
wear their collar up with like pink shirts.
No, but I think,
who would that be?
I think that was evidence of the neurological condition when you got hit in the head, and we're going to chalk it up to that.
Yeah.
All right. Stay with us. Yes, we wish you would. As the five gears up for Super Bowl Sunday, that's coming up next.
48 hours away from the Super Bowl. My Eagles are in it. That's me at the NFC Championship game when they defeated the Vikings. Why is Greg laughing? I can feel it. They're going to win. More than 100 million people are expected to watch, but according to a new poll, 16% of NFL fans say they won't even tune in this year. No data on why, but 46% say they disapproved of this year's national anthem protests. Meanwhile, some people think the Monday after the Super Bowl should be declared a national holiday so everybody can sleep in and recover from their hangovers. A majority of HR managers are even in agreement with that. Gutfeld, I know you probably do this segment every year.
Yes.
Do you agree with the idea?
If a hangover keeps you from work,
Then I'd never
you don't deserve to drink. I don't want to tell, or work. I don't want to tell you how many times I've sat at this table wondering where the hell I am. You know what? My favorite thing about the Super Bowl are the ads, of course.
Oh, come
I
on.
can't wait for the My Pillow ad. I can't
my
wait for the
God.
card. What are the Cars for Kids going to do?
Don't do
That's
that.
going to be incredible. And of course, William Devane, who is my spirit animal.
I don't think Devane could afford
Catherine.
the cost of a Super Bowl ad.
Yes, he
Dana-
can. Have you seen his farm?
No, I have
That
not.
tree?
He took you to the farm?
Look at my tree. Have you ever seen the commercials?
That wasn't a tree. Dana,
Yes.
tell me your thoughts on the keys to the game.
Well, you have to score more points than the other side.
Very good.
No, I probably know
Juan.
more than you think.
Really?
That's all I get.
I'm not sure about that. So
No,
do
that's
you
fine.
think you should take off on Monday, national holiday?
Absolutely not.
No?
Grief. No,
Wait, so
no.
you want to work 5 days a week instead of 4? That's why you're Dana Perino. You're just such a goody two-shoes. You want to show up every day.
Ask Kimberly.
Kimberly?
correct.
Do you want to go to work on Monday?
Why wouldn't I?
Am I the only one that wants a day off?
We don't like to take days off. We like
No,
to have
we like
perfect
to work.
attendance and to work.
That's right.
So why would
What is that? There's something about having perfect attendance that makes you feel really
It's
good.
amazing.
Oh, my God.
I
People
got a
like to brag
standing
about it.
ovation
It's
in
like
law
bragging
school
about
for
I only sleep 4 hours a night, but I've never had a sick day. Yeah. Anyway,
Who's done that?
Juan.
President? Juan, what do you think?
Ask his dog.
Well, you know what's interesting to me is what they counter program on other channels, and it looks to me that 16% may be undersold because there's all these like Hallmark Channel movies, and I think lots of women, if they can watch, they watch it. Now I think
It's a Dean Cain Sunday.
and I think there are lots of guys who aren't particularly big
you
into the
dare.
football thing, and they want to see. So like I think ESPN does bowling championships, and you think who's going to watch that? It turns out it does pretty well.
That's true, yeah.
and there's
people-
Fox News.
Yes.
That's right.
Has their own.
More on the memo.
That's our Super Bowl.
Yeah, DVR the Super Bowl, watch breaking news about the memo. Let's just go around quickly. Who's going to win? Patriots or Eagles?
Patriots.
God, Kimberly.
I'm sorry.
I
but
count on you.
You know why? Because if you do an analysis of quarterbacks and like Brady always has come from behind, he's great on third down conversions. Even if it's like 3rd and 26,
Whoa,
the
she
guy's
actually
going to
knows what
get
she's
in it. I
talking
just
about.
am telling you.
Juan?
Put your money
Well,
there.
you know, Vegas says the Patriots, but my heart says
See?
the Eagles.
There you go. Juan and I actually agree on something.
Way to go.
All right, what do you
It's
think?
my one more thing, so I'll have to hold it.
Okay. Greg?
I don't care. I honestly have not thought a single thing
feel
about
for
the Super
you.
Bowl.
Well, what are you
You
going to
know.
eat?
What am I? I don't know. I'll probably
Wings.
be sleeping. I'll probably be sleeping.
Wings.
I'm sleeping the whole weekend.
All right, well, don't fall asleep now. Facebook Friday up next.
Why are you sleeping?
Facebook Friday, America, let's begin. This is a great question from Mary Ellen Z. In honor of Groundhog Day, what one day in your life would you like to relive? We'll go this way. Dana?
The one that comes to mind is when Peter and I lived in England and we went to Scotland to pick up Henry, our first puppy. That was a good day.
Knew it was going to be a dog. Jesse, is this
would-
dog-oriented?
No, it's not. I would like to relive Sunday, this coming Sunday, when the Eagles win the Super Bowl.
Does
that count?
You're reliving a day in the future, which is kind of interesting.
That just blew your mind.
Yeah.
I'd say it's optimistic.
Juan?
It is.
You know, it's like, I mean, I could do things like remember when I had a book coming out, it got great reviews, and the publisher agreed to let my mother drive with me out to where the book was coming off the press.
Oh, that's fun.
And it was an amazing experience. And so now I was thinking about it, you know, it was such a great time because I was in the car with my mom, which is unusual, and we had a long
Yeah.
ride. And then you get there and the people were so gracious. And they said, oh, you know, you're the author of this book. And
That's nice.
Like, whoa, what a moment in life.
That's a good
Nice.
thing. Kimberly.
It was a fun day. I mean, there were a lot, but I would say the day that I found out, like, I passed the bar exam, that was fun because I thought of all the exciting things I could do with my legal career and become a prosecutor, and I wanted to, like, yell her up, fight for,
Justice.
right? Yeah, well, and for victims' rights.
Yeah.
I don't know. I would go back to last week, Monday, at 5 to 5 p.m., and instead of walking towards the door at 4:55, I would wait approximately 10 seconds. And then I would not have this raging headache for the last 10 days that is making my head want to explode.
You should have probably stopped for another little snack of crackers and cheese.
Exactly. No, I went to fix my tie. If I hadn't fixed my tie, I'd relive that day.
Wait, why don't you stop wearing ties? You never used to.
It's too late now.
Well, when you go back to relive that day.
Yes, well, no, when I go back to relive that day, no ties. And I won't listen to Jack, who told me my tie was crooked. That's what happened. I was in the studio. And Jack goes, your tie's crooked. So I turn around and go out, and then I come in, I get hit in the face with the door, and I've never been the same. All right, Gloria G. What is the one food you absolutely refuse to eat? And a little joke there. Greg Gutfeld, honest, not silly answer like unicorn. All right, Kimberly, what do you refuse to eat?
I know people are going to object to this, but I'm really not a big fan of beets. And I know
Beets?
people find them
I
to
like
be very
No
tasty.
super beets?
Yeah.
And do they advertise?
Yes. You know what? Have you ever had Borscht beet soup?
Well, obviously not.
Oh, it's
because
fantastic.
I don't
Borscht is
like beets.
amazing with sour cream on
I
top.
don't like beets, and I don't like a big fan of onions. I don't know if they're cooked and they're in there and you kind of don't see them.
Oh, no, she picks them off of her hamburger from McDonald's.
Yes or no, right? See?
Interesting. Remember that McDonald's would never allow a special order, so it would take hours. They'd have to cook the whole thing. That's another topic. Juan?
Well, I don't like cauliflower at all.
Really?
Wow.
And also, but I had a recent change because I used to not like Brussels sprouts, but now people present them and they're like stir-fried and kind
Yeah,
of crispy.
they try
and
to
good.
cover the smell of
Bacon.
sewage.
Yeah. I also, as a kid, I didn't like broccoli.
Yeah.
But I think George W. Bush?
H.
George
Yeah,
H.W.
Bush.
Yeah, he liked
Remember, he
it.
caused a whole scene.
He did. That's what I'm recalling.
All right, Jesse, anything you refuse to eat? I've seen you eat everything.
Yeah,
I've seen
there's
you
not a
cook
lot
things.
that I won't eat.
Yeah.
I tried to impress a date one time at a nice restaurant and ordered sweetbreads. And then I was told in the middle of what I was eating what they were, which are glands.
Yeah.
And I had a panic attack and had to excuse myself and go to the bathroom.
Did you throw up?
Almost.
Glands.
Raw fish.
Yeah.
Won't do. Will
Sushi?
never do it.
You
Never.
don't eat sushi?
No, I don't eat fish at all. I try once in a while.
Bring that
but I
into
don't
the
like
green
it.
room on Monday.
I do not eat any seafood whatsoever. It comes from the Earth's toilet. That's what the ocean is.
That is-
It's the
that-
Earth's
that's-
toilet.
Do you swim in the ocean?
Not when I can. I don't mind a good lake or a swimming
good
pool.
lake.
But the ocean, I mean, come on. It's dirty in there. Besides,
Okay.
I once ate a puffin in Iceland. A puffin. You know, those adorable birds.
Like an endangered species?
Yes, it tastes like shoelaces. Yeah. Okay. Ooh, this is good. From Linda N. I'll go with you, Juan. What book has left
Yeah, don't ask Jesse.
a lasting impression on your life, not just your career? You can say any of my books, Juan.
Okay. Well, Greg's books really made an impression. And I would guess, Invisible Man is a wonderful
Not the science
book.
fiction one, the Allison one.
The Ralph Ellison one.
Yes.
But then there are things like The Chosen, Chaim Potak's book, which I think is about a kid growing up in Brooklyn. That made a big impression on me. And this is silly, but it's true. Huck Finn, Tom
Yeah.
Sawyer, I
Yeah,
love
sure.
those books.
Yeah. What about you, Jesse?
Besides the Killing series, Greg, I'm going to go with my old standby, The Hobbit. Can't go wrong with The Hobbit. J.R.R. Tolkien, great book, great series.
All right, Dana, book.
I would say A Wrinkle in Time.
Who did that?
Madeline L'Engle? L'Engle?
I don't know. It's like the Little House on the Prairie. I saw
those
you
were
in that
good
kind
books, too.
Yeah, the Ingalls Wilder books.
Those were good.
Yes.
Those were good. Charlotte's Web was great.
I'm going to guess Nancy Drew for you, Kimberly.
That's my favorite.
Yeah, a
I
book
did
that
love those.
had a
Yeah, I
lasting
had all of
impression.
them.
Nancy Drew, I definitely loved, but also Little House on the Prairie, the whole series.
I liked Pamela Sue Martin.
Don't know who that is.
The Nancy Drew show that was on after the Hardy Boys.
Sorry.
People at home are going, I remember.
But he's
I would say
Millennial.
the best book I would have to say Envy by Helmut Schoeck. Look it up. One more thing is up next.
He's